These are the skills that I wish I learned when I was 18. Think of this video as the real trade school. It's not welding, it's not accounting, it's the hard skills that will actually help you get ahead in 2025 and beyond. Skills that allow you to build momentum, which allows you to create leverage, which allows you to get ahead in a world that is cooked for young people today. My name is Charlie Gearside. I've applied these skills to build companies worth nearly $1 billion, such as Eucalyptus and Koala. I've hired hundreds of people, and these are the skills that separate those who are able to win from those who are still waiting for permission. So let's get into it. 8 skills, no fluff. If you like this video, you gotta like my newsletter. Check out the description for the sign up link. Let's do it. Skill number 1, for a reason, is to learn how to write like a human, not a university educated robot. So if you learn to write long, boring essays at university, I ask you to just leave that at the door kindly. Thank you. Writing is the foundational skill. It is top of the tech tree if you've played a strategy game. You see, if you can write, you can think clearly. If you write, you can speak really well. If you can write, you can prompt AI, which we'll get to later. Writing unlocks all the skills that follow, but most people freeze their writing ability around the high school level. They don't view it as a skill to be improved upon, but it has the highest leverage if you do get better. So you ask, how do I get better? Writing is about the art of communicating. It's about connecting what's going on in your brain with other people. It's about getting ideas across and persuading people to work with you. Back when I was working 12-hour days in advertising, I learned a lot. And there was this one copywriter, Andy Fleming, who taught me that the goal with writing is to be yourself, to connect your internal voice with what you're able to put down on paper. And that has been honestly the best advice, best wisdom I've ever received. So next time you're communicating to someone, you're writing an email, you're prompting AI, try being as close to the thoughts that are bubbling up in your head. Try removing all the veneer and polish that's been drilled into you and simplify the interface between your brain and the recipient. Writing, huge skill. If you invest in it, the rewards will trickle down. And that brings us to our next skill, which is make AI your bitch, respectfully. I, for one, welcome our AI overlords. So the first thing that we can quickly agree on is that AI will change society at a foundational level. I'm extremely bullish on LLMs. The first thing is that a lot of people use them like Google. They use them like search engines, whereas how they should be using them is as a junior sidekick that they can brief with very specific instructions. And the more specific the instructions, basically the bossier you are, the better. And the reason for this is because large language models are what is called probabilistic. They have ingested a huge corpus of data that is everything that was on the internet, and their job is to guess what comes next based on the patterns that they've seen previously. So given very basic or very shallow instructions, a LLM will come up with an extremely generic, widely available answer for that question. But if you're wanting to leverage it to be an extension of you, you want it to be able to come up with more unique and more creative outputs. And that's where the skill of writing comes in, because the better the prompt, the better the output. And that is because keeping AI focused and on task is actually really hard. It's kind of like taming a wild horse in a way. And you sort of just have to hang on for dear life with really amazing prompts. But the better you are at setting those constraints, because creativity is enabled by constraints in both humans and AI, the better the results you'll get. So what is the actual goal with AI? Well, it's about making your ideas better. It's about brainstorming. It's about testing. It's about iterating upon thoughts in your mind until you can get them to a place where you're really confident about where you stand and your position in relation to reality. It is a great way of carving out your unique position, your unique view of the world, and actually having the confidence to stand by it. It is a confidence engine. And obviously, that doesn't just have knock-on effects in your professional world, but also your relationships and your dating. So yeah, AI, the single most high leverage tool that we'll see in the next 10 years, and getting really good at it really early is just a huge unfair advantage. All right, skill number 3 It is the ability to message strangers whilst being weird. I was going to say whilst not being weird, but I actually think that being weird is to be memorable in a world where there is so much stuff competing for our attention. If you learn to message interesting people, people you want to meet, friends you want to stay in contact with, people you might work with in the future, and you do it in an interesting, weird way that is uniquely you. Let's be honest, most of the opportunity in our lives is going to be behind doors that are closed. It could be meeting new people. It could be dating people. It could be future co-workers or business partners or investors. That was certainly the case with me. It was chance moments of me crossing a really potentially awkward threshold and shooting my shot. It was me emailing Danny, the founder of Koala, about a job that I wasn't qualified for. It was meeting my wife and being forward with my appreciation for her. It's those moments where you cross the threshold, cross the Rubicon, so to speak, and let your desires be known. Those are the moments where you actually find doors and pathways that are important to be unlocked. It's the critical path forward. So the biggest opportunities that exist are outside your sphere. And this is all about increasing your surface area so you can come in contact with more serendipitous moments, more moments that can change your life. All right, so how do I message or reach out to these people that are important? Be short, be human. We're starting to see a theme emerge here, and offer value. A lot of these times, these people are very busy, and so you really have to bring something to the table rather than make a request. There will be a time to make a request of that person, but it's not the first message. So offer some value, be funny, and go from there. So once you have these new relationships, the second half of the equation, which is still super important and which is something that people forget about, is to tend your garden, to maintain your social sphere. I have been really bad at this in the past. It's something that I'm mindful about these days, which is messaging my friends, telling them that I care about them and that I love them, sending them random links that I find interesting, having conversations from there, treating it like a personal CRM, which is obviously a little sociopathic way of thinking about it, but working through those relationships in a systematic way pays huge dividends. Now, this also has the side effect of making you a great salesperson, which is an amazing skill at startups and an in-demand skill if you wanted to earn equity and so on and so forth. Okay, fourth skill. It is to learn to make things look good, even if you don't have good taste. Now, I firmly believe that not everyone is born with taste, in the same way that I would love to be a first grade footy player, or I would love to be good at maths. I'm just not. Everyone has different skills, and taste is not something you can necessarily acquire, but you can do something that's close, and that is you can learn the rules of design. Learn the ideas, the actual things that make logical sense about design and branding and aesthetics. And once you understand the rule book, you can actually internalize these things and you can make your communications look a lot better. Why does good design matter? Couple of reasons. The first is that even if you think it doesn't matter, it does, because it's a subconscious signal of credibility. Things that are designed well are trustworthy. Things that are designed well are clear. Basically, if you know the basics of design and you make something look good, your thing will be received better than something that is uglier. And a great example of this is I would often judge CVs by how they were laid out visually in a split second before I would actually decide whether to read them or not. Whereas ones that are well laid out, nicely designed, I was like, oh, this person is operating at a different level. I'm going to read it. It's literally split second stuff. So that's one reason. The other reason why design is important is the internet is visual first. The line that separates content and design has disappeared. Everything is designed. Even things that are ugly are a form of design. So this is a trend that has only been a thing in the last 20 years, but everything that you consume on the internet it's no longer just text or video. It is a combination of it all, of layout, of type, of spacing, of brand, of texture. And learning some basics here will help you massively in all aspects of your communication and your projects and life. So most people don't have the natural knack for design. Most people slap things together in Office or Canva. But if you can learn the basics, so you can learn the basics of typography, of layout, of sort of color theory, you will do really well. And learning those basics combined with being able to prompt AI and showing it examples of your work, literally uploading a image of your CV and asking for design feedback, will take you to the next level. So you don't have to always internalize these ideas to practice design really well. Now, I rag on university all the time, but I did actually go to art school, and the one thing that they told me about design, which has stuck with me, is that design isn't about making things look nice. No, that's just literally one part of the equation, and it comes later. The first thing about design is to make something clear, so make it understandable, a bit like writing, because if it's not clear, it's not worth looking at. The second thing is obviously to make it look nice, to make art, to make things that are aesthetically pleasing. That is a very human desire. And then the third thing is basically breaking both of those rules. It is learning to make your design say something when it's not saying anything at all. And that is the art of branding. And the best example of that, I think, is Craigslist, the US version of Gumtree, the online classifieds marketplace. It is the fuggliest website you'll ever see, but that is a intention. That is actually a design choice. Okay, we're up to skill number 5. Prove that you understand the internet. As you would have noticed, 80% of the stuff we've talked about in this video is social change that has happened in the last 30 years off the back of the World Wide Web, the most amazing, earth-shaking invention of our time. Most people still think that the internet is magic. They are consumers of this wonderful technology without looking a tiny bit under the hood and understanding how it works. But if you can learn literally the surface level stuff that most people do not, you will be streaks and streaks ahead of the mids. Practically what that means is having a personal email that is not a Gmail or a Hotmail. So having your own web domain. It means having your own website, so a corner of the internet that you call your own. By that, I don't mean the platform. I mean having literally a website and hosting that is immune from Google, Facebook, the big guys, etc. And so the act of setting up the email, the act of setting up the website will teach you these important things to know. So you'll understand web domains, DNS, hosting, HTML and CSS, because the internet is our operating system for our work and increasingly our identity too. And showing some basic understanding of it by having your email, having your website, even if you don't have that much to say, it could be a holding page, shows you're willing to engage with these critical parts of society. It is an act of branding yourself in a way that puts you above 95% of candidates in any job application. It gives you the basis, it gives you the foundation by which to spread your ideas and make sure people are thinking about you. Okay, that's a great segue into skill number 6, which is to post stuff online so people know that you exist. Now, this is something that I have learnt very recently myself. Basically, I used to post blogs on the internet close to 10 years ago. I really loved doing that. And then I went dark for about 6 or 7 years whilst I was building Eucalyptus, because that took all of my attention. And I kind of thought that, my website would tick along with a few visitors here, and that was the extent of the demand. But then in the last month, 6 weeks that I've been doing YouTube, I've realized I haven't had any real platform by which to share my ideas. I wasn't playing in the right spaces, the right channels of distribution. And so the leverage that comes from being able to share your ideas on the internet and the doors that unlocks and the people that you bring into your orbit is really quite amazing and a critical skill. That's why it's on the list. I've had a difficult relationship with social media over the years. And I've come to the realization that if you don't publish, if you don't use it as a tool, you're invisible. Now, I'm not advocating for you to be a punish on Instagram or feel like you have to share your life when you don't want. Different social media channels work for different people. I am hopeless at sharing on Instagram. I find it really weird. YouTube speaks to me because it's a little bit more ordered and I can present ideas in a longer form. I find it easy to be myself. But you can find the social media channel that suits your personality type. If you're a writer, you might find that your style of writing works better on X or Twitter. If you like the more thoughtful stuff, you might want to share stuff on Substack or even your own blog. What you need is a distribution channel that speaks to you, and you just need to get started. And then you might say, okay, that's all well and good, but I've got nothing to share. Bullshit. You just need to find out what that is. You have an interest, you're able to share value. It could be something you're good at. It could be something that you like to observe. It could be stuff that you're thinking about. As long as you're beginning the act of broadcasting, and you will start very shit at the start, trust me, this channel is a perfect example. You will get better over time, and you will start to iterate and find the thing that people want to hear about. It might just take some time. So to round that idea out, I told you about how I used to have my website. Well, in the last 7 years, that website got fewer visits than my first video did in its first 2 hours. Not all distribution channels are equal. And if you're not playing in the right rivers where the eyeballs are, you are, as I say before, basically invisible. So cultivate this skill. It's important. Okay, skill 7 is something that I have been heinous at my whole life, and that is to learn back-of-the-napkin maths. Now, I did general maths at high school. I didn't really remember any of it or pay that much attention, but this is a form of maths that I now realize is critical. Basically, learn to be imperfect, learn to roughly calculate things. And the reason for that is that most people live in this sort of financial fog. They go on hope, they go on vibes, they go on dreams. But you need basic back-of-the-napkin math to turn dreams into realities, to turn a wage slave into a successful business. You see, once you know the costs of things, the inputs and outputs, once you're able to break those down, you have the constituent parts that allow you to make anything a reality. So you can know things like burn rate, like how much money I'm going through, because that's great for your personal life as well as a business, which needs to have more income than your burn rate to survive. If you want to sell a product, you go, okay, it's going to cost this much to make, and it's going to cost this much to sell, and delivery is this much, and X% of customers might come back. Okay, that's pretty basic maths, and that's something you, again, can do on the back of a humble serviette. No interest rates, know the cost of living, no opportunity costs, the cost of going out for beers versus staying at home and working on something. Yeah, that's all back of the coaster maths, I suppose. Okay, the 8th and final skill is a tough one, but it is learning to stay optimistic, even when the world seems extremely cooked for young people. So yeah, the news is grim. The economy is rigged. It's more difficult than ever for our generation to break out. There are the people that hear that and they wallow in it and they convince themselves of this narrative that abandon all hope. There is nothing that can be done. And that is a dangerous, dangerous mindset. You see, the world runs on productive delusion. Optimism is it's not just a sense of vibes, it's an actual strategy. It's fun to be around. It's always looking for the next opportunity, the next person to meet. It's enjoying getting up early. It's gratitude for life and all its ups and downs. Resilience in 2025 is rare and it's a non-negotiable, and it is a complete cheat code. So even though it's the least skill-like of this list, it's something that you want to mindfully practice. So yeah, these 8 skills are rarer than hen's teeth. But if you're willing to put into the time to understand them and to learn them and to practice them and get better, you will go a lot further than the mids and the NPCs that basically treat life as something that is happening to them rather than the game they are playing themselves. This list is not about being perfect. It's about getting better every day. It's about becoming masters of our skill set, masters of our destiny. So if you enjoyed it, check out my newsletter where I'll post more stuff like this. There's the link in the description. So until next time, yibba yibba, love yous all, and ciao for now.